We continue in the 13th chapter. Yesterday we spoke about a certain type of Beinoni. And today we're going to speak about two different levels of a Beinoni. Yesterday we spoke about a Beinoni who has two judges inside of Beinoni, being the intermediate person, not righteous, but has mastery over thought, speech, and action, the garments of the soul. Now, the Beinoni has two judges. One judge that's the original judge is something that comes from the animal soul. The desire in the heart comes to the mind to think about that desire. The stronger the desire is in one's heart, the more you're going to have that thought come to your mind. So Beinoni has desires that are not, healthy ones, not good ones rather, right? Which means not healthy, same thing. Not good, comes to mind. But then there's another judge. It's not a ruler. In the wicked, it rules. In the completely wicked, it rules entirely that whatever you feel, that's what you think, and that's your reality, and that's what you live with. And that's your only truth. The Beinoni knows that that's a judge. It's got its opinion. It's in my heart. But I also have the godly soul that's in the brain, and it gives its judgment. And its judgment is, this thought is not a good thought. This ill thought that I'm thinking of a loved one, because they hurt me, they hurt my feelings, is not a healthy thought. I'm going to push it away and not think it. That doesn't mean I don't feel it. Doesn't mean it's still not lingering in my heart, but I don't have it consciously take up space in my thought process. It came there unwillingly, and willingly I push it away. How do I able to do that though? If there's two judges, you need a third judge. That's God that gives the power to the godly soul. That light should be stronger than darkness. And therefore a little bit of light can push away a lot of darkness. That's the first level of a Beinoni, is a regular individual who will need the help of Hashem in this instance. Now we go into a second type of Beinoni, or second level, if you will. And that is an individual who their entire aspiration is God's Torah, which they study day and night. Lishma, for its own sake. Right? So they're constantly learning. Now, not too many people like this, who that's what they do day and night. But being involved in the study of Torah, lishma, in other words, for its own sake, in other words, not for your own benefit, but because this is what God needs from you, wants from you. So you engage in that. That's no proof that your heart is cleansed like a righteous person. Perhaps it is still there in your heart, all of the negativity. I'll give you an example. Right now we're learning, and I would say that for the most part, when we're learning Tanya, any of the desires of the heart that are negative, they don't come to mind. If you're really focused in your learning, they don't. You're just absorbed by God's teachings, God's wisdom. It absorbs. But that's not a proof, because you're absorbed at that moment, that the negativity that's lodged in the left ventricle of the heart, where the Yetzer Hara, or the evil inclination, where the animal soul resides, is gone. No, it's still there. The only thing, it didn't invest itself, didn't express itself in thought, speech, and action. And why is that? So now we're talking about a different person that we spoke about yesterday, or we just, you know, um, gave over. This person, because they're engaged a whole day in Torah study, so God has granted the mind supremacy and dominion over the heart. Therefore, the divine soul rules over the individual, right? And they become, their garments of self-expression, of thought, speech, and action become a vehicle for the divine. But that's only in the garments of self-expression, of thought, speech, and action, but not in the very heart itself, right? There's still, and when we speak about the heart over here, we're obviously talking about in the subconscious level of the heart, subconscious level of the mind and in the heart, that has not been transformed. In the heart, there's still that negativity, except that the person is so involved in Torah learning, and Torah learning is something of the mind, right? The mind becomes so strong and powerful that that person can use the dominion that the mind has over the heart throughout the day. Because throughout the day, they're learning. Just like right now, when you are really focusing your learning, you don't need to push away negative thoughts. Those thoughts don't come to you because you're engaged, you're fully involved in it. Now imagine you did that a whole day, your mind would be a very powerful mind that would be able to to have supremacy over the negativity of the heart. So in this instance, you're not coming on to God giving you in your soul an extra light that you will overcome the darkness of the animal soul. In this instance, you are, the mind has a great capacity. This is a second level. First level, God needs to help you because you're a businessman, right? Who's a Beinoni. Second level, it's someone who's learning Torah day and night. So the inherent quality of the mind, because they're constantly using their mind, is what allows them to have dominion over the negativity of the heart, that it should not come to mind and bring, or not should be willfully thought. Now we come to a third level. If you recall, we spoke about a Beinoni, that during their prayers, that they are so engaged in their prayers that the negativity of the heart is not in the foreground at all. It's completely in the background because their fiery passion and love and the prayers, as if they don't have any negativity in their heart at all. So we just spoke about a person who learns a whole day, but learning a whole day is accessing the mind constantly. So the mind having dominion over the heart, so you're naturally more engaged in being and having that capability. Now it goes even a step further, because it's easier to focus by learning, as we're doing now, as it is to focus by prayers. But imagine we're so focused, right, in prayers, that you're so focused in your prayer that when you're focused as the Beinoni is focused with such a love of Hashem, that what happens, the feelings of the heart are sort of like so distant and so removed at that moment because of that fiery love of Hashem, that that negativity doesn't rise up to the mind from the heart. Imagine that you were in a state of prayer a whole day. Not necessarily literally praying a whole day, but you are in that kind of mode. You're in love a whole day with Hashem. And you're expressing that, feeling that a whole day. So it's not just your mind is focused. Now your heart is in tune. Not just during your prayers, but it's as if you are praying a whole day. And even the sages say that halavai that we should pray a whole day. So be it that we should pray a whole day. In other words, that we should be in such a state of ecstasy, such a state of dveikus, of cleaving to God, right? But imagine the Beinoni we're talking about, from after their prayers, they're still in that state of being in love. So much so that in the left part of the heart where the animal soul is, it's completely dormant. It doesn't function. Just as in the Shema and the Amidah, such a focus and such a love. Throughout the day, it's like that for this Beinoni. This is a higher level of a Beinoni now. So now, says the Alter Rebbe, based on this, we can answer a question that we had in chapter 1. If you recall, we quoted from the Talmud about Rabbi, that Rabbi said, I am a Beinoni. And Abaya, his student, said to him, teacher, if you're a Beinoni merely, then the rest of us are a Rasha. Because you're the leader of the generation. You're the sainted, holy one of our generation. So, the rest of us are below you, which is a Rasha. As he said, you don't leave us any life. So, and we asked the question, how could he make such a mistake? Of course he was righteous. And the mistake that he made was because he was learning Torah a whole day with such a passionate, his learning of Torah was like prayers, was such a love of God. Such a love of God. That's the way he learned day and night. That as if he was praying a whole day with love of God in his Torah study, that he could consider himself a Beinoni because he never, there wasn't a moment that he wasn't learning, that learning wasn't expressed with a fiery flame of a love, of being in love with God at all times. Right. So therefore, he could make a mistake thinking that he was merely a Beinoni. Because if he stopped for a moment, he thought that maybe, if I stop learning, so maybe now I'm going to have a challenge. I'm going to have negativity of my heart that has not been transformed as it is by the righteous, that would come to mind, and I'd have to struggle with it and push it away, as opposed to the righteous person who doesn't struggle with that because they've transformed the negativity of their heart, and all there is left is just the divine soul. So he thought, maybe I didn't do this. Maybe I still will struggle. In the end, he was a righteous person. And perhaps somewhat out of humility, or because he just never had the opportunity for a negative thought to come, because he was always engaged in study. In any case, if you remember, we learned that he was so much engaged in study that the angel of death wanted to bring him up to heaven. Couldn't do it. Had to distract him from his studies in order to have his mind move away from that for a moment. That's when the angel of death took him. That's how engaged he was, in such a loving way, and love a whole day. As if he was praying a whole day, but he was learning a whole day. And that's why you can make a mistake. So very powerful. So can you be in love a whole day and have the passion of a whole day? In human relations, not a healthy thing. Probably. In that passionate love, that fiery flame. But towards God, yeah. Okay, that's a very high level of Abeinani. And so we have three levels. One, that God needs to help. The Abeinani be the third opinion, the third magistrate. So therefore, the divine soul will have the power over the opinion of the animal soul. Then you have one who learns the whole day, and giving them the capacity of being so engaged with their mind the whole time that their mind now has supremacy over their heart. And then there's one who prays a whole day, or as if they pray a whole day, meaning prayer is about love of God, that it's the love of God is so palpable that any other desire is so removed. And that was Rabbi. Now, he didn't do it, he didn't pray a whole day, he learned a whole day, but that learning was in such a profound love. Powerful. That, hey, he never knew of an instance where there's a possibility of the animal soul's desire in the heart to come to mind. So therefore, he thought maybe he's only a Beinani, when indeed he was a tzaddik. Powerful stuff as always, folks. So, on a human level, what does this mean? Just some thoughts of mine. 3 ways that we can love another. Because sometimes we have a challenge in loving somebody else. Someone who we should love, by the way. Yeah. I'm going to speak about this in TRC today, about the real meaning of love. Who should you love? Why should you love? All right. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? Don't want to miss TRC today. You just a reminder that you can sign up for 1 free month, but you have to sign up. You have to go to tanyarabbi.com/TRC. Sign up for 1 month, free, and then there, if you want to cancel after you can at any time. It's not that expensive, by the way. It's $30 a month. Some people spend that in one meal. Going out, some spend a lot more. What you gain here is something invaluable. Totally invaluable. Life-altering. Enhancing in such an amazing, beautiful way. Okay, give me, Michelle, a moment. Let's see. And before I lose the feed over here, do we have any questions? Okay. No questions yet. Michelle, please share with us. Welcome.
Hi, Rabbi.
Hello, hello.
Rabbi, thank you for today's lesson. It's good to be here. I just wanted to ask one thing.
Yes.
Say we have trouble learning. and negative desire or evil inclination brings darkness, and we fail to feed our soul in this instance. Do we get judged alone for bad thoughts, Rabbi, even if we're not acting on them?
So this is what's unique in Jewish teachings, is that behavior is not merely how you behave to another. If behavior was how you behave to another human being, then of course it would only be about your actions and about your words. But behavior is the way you behave as a person, right? And ultimately, as a person, you're always before God. So we're behaving in the private, in the privacy of our privacy. No one else is in the room. God is there. There's still a way to behave. Even in privacy, there's laws about the appropriate way to act, right? In modesty and different things and so on. So behavior is not about the effect on another. Behavior is, how am I as a person? So thought, how am I as a person? Thought is more of an indication of where I am as a person. As the Baal Shem Tov said, in the thoughts of the person, that's where the person is found. So your thoughts is a greater indication of what kind of person you are, what kind of behaving person you are, as opposed to your words, your speech, your communication, and actions towards another. So when we think about it that way, of course, thoughts matter, because, again, behavior is about me and how I am behaving to myself before God, first and foremost. And think about it even further. Think about it further. If we are cognizant of how important our thoughts are, right, and we think and we try to think as appropriate as possible, could you imagine the effect that will have on our speech and on our actions? In other words, if a negative thought comes to my mind, right, and I merely don't say it to somebody, I have, a nasty thought that came to mind about somebody, and I'm in their presence, and I bite my tongue and I don't say it, which is, that's great. That's really great that you don't. But the fact that I have that nasty thought and I think it and I play that broken record over and over, first of all, I have to struggle at all times I have to struggle at all times that I'm gonna bite my tongue. Whereas if I push away that thought, I don't have to bite my tongue. That's one thing. Often. Secondly is, when you do have negative thoughts, they will actually affect the way you act towards that person. So if you're thinking a nasty thought towards that person, there's no question that your body language will express the nastiness of your thought. It's only
Yes.
in your mind. There's no question your body language will express it. So, if you want to really get to where we need to get and to be the BIT, Beinoni, in training, then we got to start where it begins, in our capacity to have mastery, and that's in our thoughts. That clarify things?
Yes, that makes total sense. Our thoughts reflect who we are, our true being, and determines our behavior, our actions, and our dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Thank
good.
you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for joining. Sarah has a question. This just made me think of the letter. Is there any connection to it? The letter Shin? I don't know. I'm not certain what, Sarah, what your question is. What the letter. Ladies, just to let you know that my dear wife Simcha will not be giving a class tonight, and it won't be for a few weeks, being out of town. Okay? So Thursday night women's Torah studies class will be postponed for a bit. So much easier said than done. Billy says 100%. But we have to say the truth. And then we have to try to live up to that truth. Right? 100%. All right, folks. Jeff, as Jeff says, TRC is less expensive than a cup of coffee a day. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, actually, even if you're making it at home, unless it's instant coffee, but if you're making, even at home with a K-cup or whatever kind of cup, it's cheaper. Yeah. And it's a lot greater perks than a coffee. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Thank you for joining. Rambam coming up.